Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Mosaico, Portugal's model for designing digital public services. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Eva Cijo, and I will be moderating today's event. But before we jump into it, just a couple of rules. First of all, you can use chat to ask questions during the presentation, and after the presentation, if you still would like to ask your question, you will have to raise your hand, so I will be able to unmute you and you will be able then to speak. This event is being recorded. The recording along with the presentation will be shared on the events page, and I hope that my colleagues will share a link to the events page in the chat soon. So this page will be updated with the link to the recording and to the presentation. But please be patient. It may take us some time before we manage to do so. And one last thing before I give the floor to our speaker, we will also share a survey, satisfaction survey, by the end of this event, so you can rate us, give us feedback, and help us improve our events so they are as useful as possible to you. And now I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Isabel Sousa. She's a product manager at Arte, State Technological Reform Agency in Portugal, where she is responsible for coordinating products supporting digital public services for public administrations, including Mosaico. Isabel, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us and looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody, and thank you for being here today. I'm going to present Mosaico to you as a solution in Portugal as a common model for designing and developing digital public services. I'm just going to start sharing now. Everyone can see my presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. I am working as a product manager for the State Technological Reform Agency in Portugal. Olá, so welcome everybody. About Mosaico, I want to address this question that you might have asked. How are the digital public services of the future created? So there are several possible answers to this question, whether through the creation of services that are relevant and tailored to citizens' actual needs, or by ensuring that they're simple and clear to use, also by using the most advanced and secure technologies, or by guaranteeing that these services are accessible to everyone regardless of their limitations, or through many other extraordinarily relevant perspectives that contribute significantly to improving the digital public services that facilitate citizens' interactions with the government. However, the digital public services of the future are also built through a sustained and coordinated evolution of all these services across all areas of the government. What's good of the particular area to be highly advanced in their services that it provides, if the adjacent areas are not even beginning to transform their digital services. What is excellent? What if the excellent services that we bring to the citizens are not communicating with one another? So how can the government be efficient in its use of resources without any of the modularity or reuse of the technological components and expertise that makes up these services? So Mosaico is the common model in Portugal for the development and evolution of these digital public services and seeks to address many of these questions. It is a tool for the Portuguese public administration that aggregates, connects, and promotes all the mosaicos that can assist all the public entities. So interoperability can only be achieved by using shared standards, platforms, and principles, And a truly digital-ready ecosystem requires a common model. In Portugal, Mosaico fulfills this role by providing a common model that public authorities can adopt and apply in the design and development of services and also public policies. It's a key tool for the success of digital transformation. So what problem does Mosaico aim to solve? Before this, Portugal had no common approach, method, or reference for the design and development of digital public services until we created Mosaico. So let's look at Vitor, for example. As many of the other 10 million Portuguese citizens, he has a lot to think about. For example, there's many services that Vitor needs to do, but this means that there's different public authorities to provide these services, and sometimes they're not really coordinated or talking with each other. So Mosaico comes in to standardize, to simplify and improve the experience of users of digital public services and foster digital-ready policymaking. And with this, we can provide a citizen-centric portal to provide all these services that are compliant with what is important as laws, regulations, and also that it's designed for the citizen and also for the public authorities to have to improve their services. It has an important role in the Portuguese public services landscape by providing a common framework with tools, skills, and building blocks. It is an essential tool for the digital-ready ecosystem, and I will show you why. So, first of all, let's just say that it started by being launched in 2022. And this initiative comes from the following strategic priorities. In Portugal, the digital transformation strategy, and also the strategy for 2023. So between 21 and 26. And so this was funded by the Recovery and Resilience Plan. Also, it is very interesting that we see since its launch, it was mainly and firstly a recommendation for public authorities in Portugal. But in 2024, there's a law, number 49, that we see it spiked the number of users because this law implies that Mosaico is now mandatory for the digital public services in public authorities in Portugal. So this makes a huge difference. And now we are evolving Mosaico. So who benefits from Mosaico? There's our main target, the teams that build the public services, the digital public services. So all managers and technical workers in the public administration will use Mosaico as a tool to know how to implement, how to be compliant. But also coordinators and technical staff of external teams who work with us. So there's so many people working and we all benefit from Mosaico because who's implementing is using Mosaico in the first place. But then these services aim to be having a better interoperability, they're more user-friendly and accessible. And by following all the principles that Mosaico bring, even people who are serving the citizen, the public authorities who are providing these services, they also benefit from Mosaico because once the services are more interconnected and optimized, it's also better for the productivity and to serve better the citizen. So what makes it innovative? This is a common standard to foster digital readiness. In a national level, it improves public service quality and efficiency. It supports digital transformation in public administration, and it fosters trust and reuse of digital public services. And also, in a European level, it enables cross-sector and cross-border interoperability. Just to have an idea of some numbers of the impact of Mosaico, we offer citizens more agile, simple, and effective digital experience across thousands of services available online and hundreds of websites and portals. So we can see, for example, the number of public services that we already have registered, and the tendency is that we will have more. Public administration websites are also a high number. So in order to have all these public authorities and workers aligned, it is important to have a common model that everyone can trust and see the updated information in one single point of access. So what can you see inside Mosaico? We find four main areas in Mosaico. The first and most important, key principles. Mosaico's principles will guide all the public services in order to be the public services of the future. And also we have stages to guide the work that is done, because there's public entities and authorities that don't have a common model. So the stages and also the profiles are very important for organizing teams. For example, the profiles are the roles of the team who is working in developing its digital public service. And for example, if you are an architect or if you are a UX UI designer, you can find here information that is relevant for you. And lastly, we have technical areas. These are focusing in a specific theme, for example, accessibility. We can find everything about accessibility that is for the digital public services for our public authorities. Or other technical area is artificial intelligence, for example, or interoperability. So we do have all these areas gathering all the necessary and key information for the public services to be implemented. So let's go through Mosaico's principles. So what are the guiding principles for the public services in Portugal? The first one is to understand users and their needs. Without that, we cannot design a good digital public service. But also to have in mind the second principle, which is to make a service simple to use, because we can, in the first one, fulfill the needs of the users, but if it is complex, we are not really creating a good service. It is good to be simple in order to be more efficient as well. And the third principle, to make sure that everyone can use the service. This is related to usability and accessibility, because if we think about our public, let's say the targets of our public services, it's the citizen, and the citizen is everyone. We have all different ages, all different knowledge of technology. So to create a public service is to think about all these different receptors that we are going to be using them. So to make it accessible to everyone is a very important step. So another principle is to create secure services that protects users' privacy. Obviously, we are talking about private data. That is very important to have this principle compliant. Then the fifth principle, to ask for new information only once. So this means that systems are interconnected. If I need to do a certain service that requires information that already exists in the government in a different public authority, it is important that authorities communicate with each other. The systems are connected so that the service is more efficient, but also more reliable. Then the sixth principle, to make new code open source. This depends on the context, but what we want to is, and also connected to the seventh principle, is that if we are creating a building block, a system for the public administration, it's good that it is reused by different authorities. So this is important to have in mind when creating a new portal or a new product, a digital product. So the seventh principle is to use and also contribute with open standards, common components and patterns. So all public administration can easily reuse these building blocks. I will show you some of the building blocks we have so far as well. The eighth principle, and it's to have a multidisciplinary team. Also very important that everyone communicates between the strategic roles to the technical roles. And the principles 9 and 10 are also important for us to be delivering in a more agile way. So we want to use agile ways of working in digital public services and also to iterate and improve frequently. This means that we are constantly measuring the success of these products and we are always evaluating what's the next adaptation we need to make. And the last principle is to publish open data to allow creating value to society. This is also very important whenever we need open data, which is not the same as the private data. So it is important to be shared and it brings a lot of value to society. So with these principles, we also guide users by providing them tools, the practical guides on how to use certain tools, for example, or how to be compliant with a certain regulation. We also have an area just dedicated to laws and regulations so that the user can be confident that here they will find all the important laws and regulations that must be compliant with when creating a digital public service. And the building blocks, which are all these digital products that we use to integrate the systems, such as, for example, the Public Administration Integration Platform, which allows systems to communicate services with each other. Also, the Platform for Public Administration Payment is another building block that we developed and is also very interesting because every time there's a service that needs payment, you can just adopt and integrate with this platform. And it makes the payment secure, but also compliant with the law. Another building block that we have is authentication. So anything related to EID, we have also the digital signature, the digital wallet. So all this is very important nowadays for our public services, and users can find all this information in Mosaico and also how to subscribe, how to integrate. So these are the more practical building blocks we have. For example, we also have the single catalog for public services where public authorities will provide information about their services. And also the evidence reuse of OOTS is also another example. But just like these building blocks, we have many more. And we invite you to check that in mosaico.gov.pt. This is just another example of information we can find in Mosaico, and I will show you then Mosaico with an interactive presentation as well. But for example, this technical area of the single digital gateway that comes from the regulation 2018. So this is the SDG regulation, and it's just an example of how in Portugal we allocate. So we bring all this information to Mosaico. We don't just mention a regulation, we explain it and we give some orientation on how to be compliant and what is the strategy in Portugal to be compliant with this regulation. And this is just one example. We also provide communities of practice, which are important because we have different teams working for the same goals that is good to bring them together, to share experiences and also to make them help each other. Because this is public administration working together. And so, for example, the once only technical system is one of the communities of practice that we launched. We have also the accessibility and usability public forum here. the open data community, and smart territories community. And just like these ones, we will be launching more communities as we see that are needed. We also have Musas, which is Mosaico's mascot, who interacts with these users within the communities of practice in a friendly way, but also you will know that the answers will come from our public administration communities of practice. So there's going to be evolution in Mosaico in the next month. And this means that we will have a portal that now expands to have a reserved area where you access with authentication. And this is not for the citizens, obviously. Mosaico isn't aimed for the public authorities. So public authorities can now, not now, but they will be very shortly able to authenticate in Mosaico and access a reserved area where they will check all the requests that they are making, for example, for accessing the building blocks or even accessing the back offices of these building blocks. And this will make a big difference in how we provide these services for the public administration. So we are putting everything in one single point of access as Mosaico, not only on how to apply, but also you can here enroll in, ask for more information, and have more access to these services. So now that the presentation is over, I will show you just briefly Mosaico, and then we can move on to questions that you might have. So here is Mosaico. I hope you can see it right. These are the four main areas that I mentioned. Here are the principles of Mosaico, for example. As I already presented, you can find them here. And also, let me just show you that in English. And just a second. I think it is. Okay, now I need to change. Okay, here we are. And then, for example, this principle to understand users and their needs, we explain what it means, what's the benefits, what are the laws and regulations applied to that principle, and also best practices, some guides on how to apply it. So it becomes very practical. I also think it's interesting if we search, for example, for usability. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not in English. Sometimes I switch to Portuguese, but I will translate it. So here, for example, we find the technical area of usability. And here we find why is it important, the benefits. And after this more like giving it a context of usability, we explain what's the importance of usability tests, the difference between that and accessibility, and also what we have in Portugal. We have the seal of bronze, silver, and gold of accessibility, which means there's different levels of being compliant with accessibility in Portugal. And you can find here on how to be compliant with that and how to get that approval. Then also the laws and regulations that are applied, and some practical guides on how to do usability tests, for example, how to develop applications for mobile devices, and how to apply usability and accessibility seal. We also offer this tool. I think it's very interesting here in Portugal, and I think it's one of the nicest and more useful here tools that we are promoting here. For example, Agora Design System is the design system for digital public services in Portugal. And so we can find it here. And we also have some other resources as the contrast checker. So for example, if we, also the community, we can explore the community. But if we want to see other access here, we have the laws and regulations all together here. just as we mentioned in different areas, we can also check the laws and regulations in one area, and also the building blocks that I mentioned previously. I will also open that. So laws and regulations, oh, sorry, again, I'm going to switch it to English. We are working on a version that will be easier to navigate with the English option. And also the platforms, some tools, some practical guides, and the communities of practice. So laws and regulations. For example, if I search for SDG, I will find it here, and I will understand what it implies, what to do next, and also what's the legislation between SDG and OTS. And also every time we have some updates, we will register here so that users are more comfortable knowing that they are following the updated versions. So just switch it to English again. I think the building blocks are also very interesting to see, because it's like we are seeing all the products, the IT products that we have available for the public administration and that we can subscribe. And so, for example, the authorization system, the .gov means that they are the open data platform. Let's see another one, the electronic signature, integration platform. If we look at this, for example, we can see what is this building block, why is it important, who is it for, who can use it, what's the cost of enrollment, if there's any fees, the legal background, because we are in public administration, the legal background is always important, and how to use the platform. How's the enrollment process, how is it structured, how to provide a service there. And if we need some support, also who do I talk to? This is also very important to have support. Let me show you another tool. So the tools that we mentioned, for example, this is different from the building blocks. These are tools. For example, Agora Design System, I think it's a very interesting tool for UX, UI designers, but also for developers. So Agora is our design system, as mentioned, and we can learn more about it here. We have the library, so it's the zero height, and it's just an example of what you can find in Mosaico. This is in Portuguese, and you can find all the components for the desktop responsive services. So every time we are developing a new service, we have all the components already designed, compliant with usability and accessibility rules. Also, we have it in Figma that we provide to the teams to design these prototypes, high fidelity prototypes. And also then we have, let me just see here, where's the, yeah, we have the React agora.gov.pt. So here's the website where we find the components already developed for React.js. So if we are using React in our service, in the developing of our services, we can already find the source code of these components that are already available here. And so it is very interesting that these tools are now provided to the public administration, and it is very useful for building services quicker. So, and also being compliant with the usability and accessibility regulations. So this is another interesting tool that we find in Mosaico. So these are the other technical areas. We find about cloud, about, let me see, artificial intelligence, what is provided for our public. Let me just see what's happening here. Okay, let me see in Portuguese. Not sure to you. No, this is the smart territories one. Just gonna check if that's okay. Okay. So in English now, yeah. Here we explain how it works in the public administration, what are the main risks, how to mitigate the risks of AI, and what is the vision of AI in Portugal. And here we find the national digital strategy and also some interesting tools that we provide. There's also a very important guide, which is how to apply responsible AI in the public services and how to evaluate the quality of AI systems. And here also how to learn more about AI. So these are areas that are always evolving. The public administration is using Mosaico, and we are always connected and creating more value for the public administration in general. And this is a platform that is growing and is always being updated, so that we can build these public services with a single identity in this relationship between the citizen and the government in a standardized way. And this is the common model for the digital public services in Portugal. This is my presentation for today. I don't know if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel. Maybe I can start with one question. Is there a kind of user journey for the users of Mosaico? So at which stage, which technical area they should take a look at? What is the process?
Well, the users of Mosaico vary a lot. So if you have a more technical role, you might check your technical role here, for example, and find information that is relevant for you. Let me see, for example, the solutions architect or the tester, developer. Let me see, UX designer, for example. And we find information here for a certain role. So the best practices that must be followed in creating, for example, UX designer will create personas, and this is some templates on how to do so. It's very specific for this role. How to run the usability tests, and then we find a guide. This guide is only written in Portuguese right now. We will then have a translation in the future. But this is another area of Mosaico where we store all our guides, and we find it here. So the more practical things are here. Then if you have a more strategic role, you can check, for example, I was showing this one, the artificial intelligence. If you want to see the laws behind it, let me see. Well, we have, for example, some training that is interesting. Oh, sorry. This is in Portuguese, sorry, but it's training regarding the artificial intelligence for managers in technical teams. And so we also provide some training information. Then we have the laws and regulations, as I showed here. Yeah, it was here, which can be interesting also for certain profiles, or I mean roles in these teams. I don't know if that answered your question, but it varies a lot, the use cases. What it means is that it depends on what you need to do, and you will find a lot of information in Mosaico. If you search for the information you need, you will find here tools and guidelines.
Thank you very much for your reply. I can see we have two more questions in the chat. First, who exactly is responsible for creating and maintaining each public service? Is there a dedicated team for each one of them?
The digital public services are provided by our public authorities. Each public authority develops their own public services, and the main goal is that they are following Mosaico in order to have public services aligned with our strategy in Portugal. So here, I think this slide might be interesting. Let me just show you again. For example, this is an example of public authorities providing services. And it was before this one, we were looking at services like how to renew the identity card, I need to pay the social security fees, or some other services. Well, these are different authorities, but if they follow Mosaico, we can publish all these services in one single point of access. And this is what we are doing in Arte, in our agency, that we put everything in this portal, gov.pt, that is all the information regarding each public service, but those updates come from the owners, and the owners are the public authorities that provide the services. I don't know if this clarified the question.
If not, I will only remind you that you are able to raise your hand so I can unmute you and you can ask your question in speaking. Okay, I can see that.
Thank you.
You replied. We have another question. Does Mosaico cover the provision of public services at all levels of administration? Are the principles, tools, etc. mandatory to use? What does the governance model of Mosaico look like?
Governance model of Mosaico is we have different teams that are specialized in certain topics. For example, if we have a team that is specialized in interoperability, that team will develop the content that we published in Mosaico, okay? Or they will tell us which new law needs to be here or which law is not applied anymore. And so we are updating information in Mosaico according to the experts that we have in our agency. But those experts, I mean, they're not just on their own creating these informations. It's always because it comes from a law or a regulation, and they are also aligned with public administration. So it's not just our agency creating content. It is important to state that we are collaborative with other public authorities. But yes, the information and the governance is inside Arte. We have our team developing Mosaico. We update the contents, and we also evolve the platform. Me, as the product manager, what I do is I coordinate the team that is developing the technical side of the platform, but I also coordinate the team who updates the content. And this content comes from all these different teams who are experts in these different topics that we have published in Mosaico and aligned with the European Commission as well. Hope that answered the question.
Thank you. There are more questions coming. So another one, based on the lessons learned while using Mosaico, what would be your main recommendation for implementing Mosaico model in small Latin America countries which are looking for improving their digital service design for their citizens? There is also an elaboration of this question. What challenges did you identify and what are your recommendations for overcoming them in the Mosaico implementation process?
Thank you. Well, the South American services, I don't know the specifications of those services to address that question with, how do I say, rigor, with more like accuracy. But what I can say is that to start off by reading the principles, I think this is the key component. Let me just show you the principles. So by following principles, we already have a guideline. I think it is important that we have these in mind. If we are creating a service, it's important to have all these principles compliant. So that doesn't mean we have a huge list of things to take care of. If we know that we are going in the right direction, so doing some user research, designing these services and testing them with the users, being aware of these usability and accessibility rules, this is very important. But the challenges of adopting Mosaico, I think it's more of a mind, how do I say? I'm missing the words, I'm sorry. So it's more about the culture. So everyone who's using Mosaico, this is quite recent. It's from 2022 until now, but it is still quite recent in the public administration. It's more applied now, but what we see is that sometimes authorities still see this as something new, and they are getting used to it. And sometimes this is what makes the adoption a bit more difficult, I believe. But also, at the end of the day, this is a portal that collects a lot of information, gathers everything in one single place. It's good that we promote it and we talk with the public authorities, that there's so meetings with them, and we collaborate in person as well. I don't think that just by putting everything in a platform that things just work out by magic. No, we see that we are contacted by the public authorities because they have questions on how to enroll a certain building block. And even though we have that written there and we explain how to do it, I believe that authorities still need to have this human connection on we explain certain things and how to do certain things. And I think that's also important. So the adoption, I think the challenges are really the mindset. This is something that I was trying to say before, the mindset of seeing how the new public services will be. And if you have that clear in your mind and your team is also able to see that, Mosaico will be something more as a reference, but you don't have to be there all the time because you already understand how the services should work together. It comes natural from the designing moment, not just the implementation. When you are already thinking of the service that is new, or if you are rethinking a service that already exists and you need to rebuild it, the having that mindset of the new public services with these principles, it's going to take a little longer, but it will help a lot. I know this answer was a bit confusing, but I hope it was somehow clarifying.
I'm checking if there's no more questions from the audience. Then I would ask one more question. You were mentioning a bit about a mindset, and how do you ensure, or how do you try to for public administration to see Mosaico as a benefit or even a solution to some of their problems rather than an additional burden, another compliance?
I understand. Well, if we look at this, let me see. Well, we can see here that, okay, we had and this is important, to have a law that implies that Mosaico is mandatory in order to be adopted faster. But we also believe that this is not the most important part. The most important part is to offer value, and so that entities understand, so authorities understand the benefits from using Mosaico. And by understanding the benefits, they will more easily apply. So it doesn't matter if you just put a law out there if you don't offer solutions. The important part is to offer the solution. So if we are giving here, let me see, tools, and if we are giving the practical guides, we are explaining how to be compliant with certain laws and regulations. I think this is how you will help the public administration to build better services, is you facilitate that, you guide them through that, because there's different levels of knowledge and of digital maturity in these different public authorities. There's many public authorities, and so if we offer them the training and also these tools, this will bring value for them because it makes their life easier in order to develop these services. But also, if they see the value of publishing these new services, it's not just for the citizen. The citizen will have their lives a bit better because the services will be working better. Okay, they don't need to go to these certain places to take care of their services, or they don't need to go to these different websites to bring a document from here and put it there. No, that's good for the citizen, but it's not just for them. It's also for the workers who are serving, workers who are providing these services, because they will have all these services to take care of. And if the services are more clean, connected, and automated somehow, it will be less of a burden, and it will reduce time. So it's good for everyone in terms of who benefits from Mosaico. I think when authorities understand this, they will adopt it. It's not just Mosaico by itself. It's really a mindset, again, of understanding the value that it brings to have all these services connected and built in the same way. Just as I mentioned, the Agora design system. Instead of you being here designing a new design system for your services, we already provide that. Instead of being developing all the components, there's already components developed in Figma and also in React if you use that. We don't make it mandatory to use React, but if you do, there's already the components developed, and that accelerates a lot. So offering that value will really help the adoption of Mosaico.
Thank you very much, Isabel. I don't see any more questions, so we will be closing our presentation. Don't forget to reply to our satisfaction survey. We would love to hear feedback from you, and there will be recording and the presentation shared after this event, but please give us some time to finalize and to be able to share these links. And I wish you all a good day. Thank you again, Isabel, for this excellent presentation, and hope to see you in our next events. Thank you very much.